Hey guys, and welcome to your 10th and final HTML5 tutorial for beginners. This is Rafi Ozik. In this tutorial, we are going to create our very first HTML5 website with CSS. And what I'd like you to do is to build a website that is a recipe website. So it's going to have, the top is going to have a header. The header will have text, an image of some sort, and under the image a list of recipes, and you could build it out however you'd like. And you could use Google and go on and look up for different things in CSS and HTML and HTML5 and try to use everything kind of we learned here to make a decent looking recipe website. And it's actually a very common project given to people who are starting out with HTML and CSS. So I suggest you guys stop this video, do that, and then once you're done or you've gone pretty far, you feel like you've really given it a good shot and gotten something decent up there, come back and watch this. Or at the very least, if you are going to watch this first, to try to code with me and pause it, and I think you'll get more out of it that way. So let's go into the body here of this HTML, and you notice that this is called actually this turtle's recipe website. That's because the only image I have in this folder is this turtle image. So this is going to be his 15 minutes of fame, and this recipe website is going to be all about him. So we're going to start with the semantic element of the header. And this is actually pretty cool. This is the header semantic element that we talked about earlier. And inside of that, we're going to have our H1, our header 1 text tag, and we're going to put inside of this turtle's recipe website. And now let's put in image source equals image/turtle.jpg. And in general, remember that image folder should actually be inside the CSS folder, so it would be css/image, but for now, that's okay. And now we're going to do alt is turtle, and we're going to say the width, we're going to make it 800 pixels, and we're going to make the height 400 pixels, and then we're going to close this off. And under this, I want to put in, this is actually going to be it for the top, for the header, and we're going to close, well, we actually already have a closed header. And if we look in the style.css, you'll see that we have this H1 saved from previous tutorials, but I took out the text align center there. So if we save this and we open it, let's just open this, and it's opening. You have this turtle's recipe website and a picture of this very cool looking turtle, although he does look surprisingly flat, as if he's not 3D or like it's like a cardboard cutout. I don't know if anyone else sees this. It just doesn't, there's something that seems a little bit off about this turtle. And I can't 100% wrap my fingers around it. So if you look at this turtle, let me know if you think it looks like a little bit flat, like he's not actually three-dimensional, or that's just me. So this is this turtle's recipe website, and you see this header. So let's go to let's actually center this. Let's center this whole thing. So if we go to style.cs, we can actually center it using header, and then the attribute text align, and we like to space it out in CSS. Center, and it knows you centered now this whole thing, which is it's a nice little effect. Now what I also want to do is I want to add margin bottom, and I'm going to say 20 pixels. And what that's going to do, it's going to give a margin under the header for when we start the main portion of the website. So now let's get to the main part of the website, which is going to be our recipe. So first let's call it main, using our semantic element main. And remember, these semantic elements are part of HTML5. And inside of main, we're going to use article. An article is going to be where we're going to put individual recipes. So a recipe is going to have a title, it's going to have ingredients, and it's going to have directions on how to use it. So let's start out with our title. We'll use H2 and we'll say this turtle's, or we'll just say turtle's favorite recipe. And let's capitalize this also. And now let's do H3 to make it a little bit smaller, and this will be the ingredients. Now let's make an ordered list, and we'll make an ordered list with OL if you remember from previous tutorials, and then inside we're going to have the list item, the LI, to make each individual list item. LI stands for list item. So inside this list item, we're going to have chicken, because turtles love chicken. And we're going to have sweet chili, because turtles love chicken and sweet chili. And then for the directions, we're going to say ordered list pour. I'm not 100% sure how to spell pour, so if I spelled it wrong, let me know how to spell it correctly. Pour sweet chili on chicken. And then we're going to say throw chicken in oven until ready. So this is obviously a very sophisticated recipe, and let's take a look a little bit about how this looks in the browser. And here we go. We have turtle's favorite recipe, ingredients, and the directions. Now what if we hadn't have multiple recipes? So I'm not going to create a brand new recipe, but I'm going to copy and paste this. Whoops. I'm going to copy this, and let's paste it. Paste, and let's do it 3 times. Now you see it kind of goes right on top of each other here. This is not really the best way of doing things because we have all this free space on the right. So what we want to do is we want to create essentially columns for these recipes so that they show up 1, 2, 3 on this. So in order to do that, we're going to go to our style CSS. And because each recipe is inside of an article, we're going to go to article, and we're going to use this neat trick. We're going to use display, and we're going to use the attribute display, and we're going to call inline block. And inline, as we talked about earlier, allows you to display multiple things on one line. Inline block allows you to do that and also declare a width and a height for those elements. In this case, we're just going to declare a width. So the width is going to be 33.3%, essentially 3%, 1/3. And now, well, let's just make it 33%. And let's also, and now we have 3 recipe items for each three recipe items on each row. So each column is 1 recipe item, and there are 3 columns per row. So that's pretty cool when we take a look at it, but it doesn't really look great. Look how far left this is, and this is centered. And if we make it really big, it's like all the way on the left there. We'd like to center this a little bit more. So this is where the main comes in, because the article is nested inside of the main. And remember we talked about earlier how everything inside of this header element is going to be centered because we use the text-align center for it. We can do the same thing with main, and we could center everything inside of this main element. So let's go to style.css, and let's go to main, and let's do text-align center. And you notice it's now centered, and this is better, but the ingredients, and it doesn't really look good to have the list and the ordered list part centered as well. We want that kind of still text aligned on the left normally. So what we're going to do is we're going to override this main text align with ordered list, which we used, as well as the list item. And we're going to do text align colon, and then we're going to do center, we're going to do left. And now we have a much better looking recipe. And we could also border this a little bit. So let's go to the main article here. And I actually would like the main thing to be on top of the article, since that's kind of the that kind of makes more sense in terms of linear progression of the actual website. And the H1 we're going to put under the header. Alright, and obviously this computer is a little bit problematic with the video editing, but don't worry about that. So we have the header, we have H1 main article, and then we have the ordered list and list, which we overrid the text align center on the main. Now let's border this a little bit. So I'd like to have kind of a main border around this whole thing and then individual borders around each article. So for the main border, I'd like to have border style solid, and then let's say border width 2 pixels, and that's about it. And let's take a look at that. And we got this nice little border over here, which is pretty cool. It's a nice looking border. So we got that border. And now let's make a border for the article. So let's do border style solid border width 2px. Let's do border radius 5. Let's do 10 pixels. You could actually do this all just within border colon and get it all in one part, and maybe in more advanced CSS tutorials will show this, but for now I just want to show you each part individually so you can understand what's going on. And we see here that the border actually made it a problem because it now is just too big for that 33%. So let's say we made the border, we're going to make the width 31%, and that works. But now it doesn't really look great because there's not a lot of padding inside of this bigger border. It's kind of touching. It's not great. So let's make padding inside of the main part. Let's say 40 pixels padding. And now it still looks better, but there's still an issue of the margins in between each of these is not really it's not a really big margin inside of each one of these individual articles. So let's go back and let's do margin, let's say 20 pixels. And we have the same problem where that was too much for the percentage of columns, so let's make it 10. Hold on one second. And there we go. We have a really nice recipe look. And if we want to do this, let's say we did this more, we took these whole articles, all that's here, and just for fun, we'll make a bunch more of them. Let's copy and paste this. Copy. And let's paste it. And my computer is acting up a little bit, but that's part of the whole experience here. And I'm going to leave this in actually because, wow, that is very annoying. I am copying it, and it looks like the video editing and a bunch of stuff I have loaded in the background is kind of overpowering my computer over here. So I'm just going to go back to articles, and let's copy this from here. Copy. And now when we go back here, we also have a very nice list, and you see how it's listed, on each one, like so. And another cool thing we can do is we could create a margin bottom thing on each of these individual articles. So we went to style and we just go to articles, and we also say, well, the margin is already 10, but what we can do is that is the margin we're going to do a little bit differently. There's a few ways of doing margin. One is to do margin top, and then you do margin right and margin left and margin bottom. But another way is to do it all within the margin property, and it goes clockwise. So we're going to start with the top, and we're going to say 10px, and then right 10px, and then we're going to say bottom, we're going to say 30px, and then left 10px. So we're going to save that. And now we got some more room here on the bottom, which is neat. So now we have a really nice looking recipe website, and I think we should also probably add a footer. So let's add a footer just for fun. I'll just finish it up with that. So if we go to the bottom here under main, we'll add footer. And in the footer, we're going to add just end copy. And we're going to say turtles recipes 2017. And we go here, we see we have this little turtles recipes 2017 And we're just going to leave it kind of like that, and we're just going to add a margin top to it. So we're going to go to footer, and we're not going to do anything special to it. We're just going to say margin top 50 pixels. And we go back, we see it's really at the bottom there. So we have a really nice website here. We have our header text, we have our header image, we have the main part of our website with our recipes set up inside of individual ingredients and directions and all of that. And actually these are H2 and H3 titles. And I'm going to show you a really neat trick is we don't necessarily want to center these left all the time, but we do want to center the H3 and the H2 titles left when it's inside of the article. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something interesting. We're going to do article H2, H3, and we're going to do text align left. Now check this out. This just align these ingredients and directions left. But to be honest, I'm not sure they look so much better here to the left than they did just being centered. So I'm going to get rid of this. Probably looks better this way. But yeah, so basically this is our first recipe website. If you had any trouble with this or it felt like it went a little bit fast, feel free to go over the video, play a lot with this kind of thing yourself, and after this we're going to start getting into JavaScript, and this is kind of the final beginner project for HTML and CSS, and I hope to see you on the JavaScript videos.